Om Gan Ganapatiye Namaha. Humble salutations and welcome to Sadhana, the Inward Path. I'm Shridika Pillai. On today's program, we meet the ever-youthful, ever-inspiring Dr. Kolapan from Pretoria. We also attend the ever-popular Lord Ganesha Festival in Durban, while we enjoy the gifts of healing and wisdom with Yoga for Wellness and the Holy Tirukural. Dr. Kolapan is a familiar face on Sadhana, the Inward Path. This humble and respected servant of the faith has dedicated many years of his life to educating society on the vastness and beauty of Hinduism. His own wisdom brings purpose to prayer and practice to spiritual life. Today, we look back in time to the dedicated doctor's own journey through a life of faith and transformation.
Our lives, we have choices that we make, but there's a greater force in our lives that decides where we eventually end up. I actually applied to work in Barclays Bank after I finished matric. My father was an ordinary porter and wine steward in a hotel. So from a material point of view, there was absolutely no dreams of becoming a medical doctor. However, a lady came to our home once, just before I was going to start, the very week before I was going to start at Barclays. And at that time, getting a job in the bank was one of the best opportunities you could have. But the lady came to our home. She now lives in Mauritius, and she said, I work for a company and they provide a bursary for every person who works there. And I have nobody in my family. Would you want me to ask for you? Would you really like to study? So I'll never forget that answer that I gave her. I told her, more than anything in the world. Deep inside of me, I thought that she was lying, that this was just a way of making conversation amongst my mom and all the other people in my family. However, the very next day, she called me and she said, listen, I've discussed the possibility of giving you a bursary. My boss would like to see you, and please bring your results with you. I was very, very fortunate that her boss, son, wrote matric at the same year. And when he looked at my results compared to his son, he asked me, do you really want to study? And I looked him straight in the eye and said, if I had the means, I would. And one day in my life, I had no money to study. And the next day, I had the opportunity to go and study. We recite this verse, Asatoma Sadgamaya, so often in temples. And it is life's experiences that truly teach you about reality if you're prepared to learn. I can remember I developed a brain tumor when I was in final year medicine. And the first time I realized that there was something wrong was on a fundraising concert. I stood on stage singing a song for Lord Muruga, and I became acutely dizzy. And it was the first time that I realized that there's something wrong with me. So finally, in final year medicine, my tumor of my brain was diagnosed. I had surgery, and that also shaped an understanding of that life is about getting up from every time you fall down. There's this Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna that falling down is okay, staying down is not. We have to learn to rise from every seemingly difficult situation we find ourselves in. So these beautiful, seemingly difficult parts of our life actually shape our thinking unconsciously. I have a daughter, and she was born just over 1 kilogram. I delivered her myself as well, and at a hospital in Lojam, and she wasn't breathing well, so I actually put her in an incubator. We didn't have an ambulance at the hospital at that time. I put the incubator in my car and drove her down to the Steve Biko Academic Hospital, which was called the H.F. Fruit Hospital at that time. And being 1 kilogram, she developed just about all the complications that you could think. She had a heart defect. She developed severe jaundice. She required exchange transfusions. But the one thing that happened was a doctor prescribed an antibiotic, which normally has the defect of causing deafness. And the calculation of the sister at that time incorrectly gave her 40 times of the dosage of a medicine that she was supposed to get. The normal dosage can cause hearing problems. And they then brought this to my attention, and my understanding of spirituality is that nothing happens without the consent of the Supreme God. And I took it as a lesson to teach me. I'm a medical doctor myself. I might make many mistakes inadvertently in my life. So I fell down at the incubator and I prayed to this. I named her Bhavani. Bhavani is another name for the supreme power. She did very well after that. And she's now a speech therapist and audiologist. Herself, having had problems with hearing, is now a lecturer at Tuckers University. So life has wonderful lessons for you. That when you look at the negative in life, the negative comes. When you look at the positivity in life, positivity comes. So the universe just sort of like reflects the nature of our own interaction with the world. I was always acutely aware and alert of things that were not in keeping with principles that Hindu Dharma demands. I coined this phrase that it is easier to build temples, but it is difficult to build devotees. I got a group of my friends together in this very home, and we spoke about the possibility of forming an organization with a difference. An organization, it was at the very, very inception of our organization that we decided we will build a temple, an educational institution, crematorium, an old age home. We had almost 18 different ideas of what this institution of Sri Ayyappa Kshetram would be like. Realizing that this materiality in whatever form that exists has got really very little value. You know, the great temple that we build, an earthquake would just take it away like that. It is the difference that we make in an individual's life that the temple should actually represent or symbolically represent. So my journey really has been a journey of discovery of this inner joy that is already waiting to be discovered. You know, many of us are searching happiness in the outside world, in the external world. But happiness is something you give yourself. Joy is some gift you present to yourself. So this journey through Western education has taught me two important things. That there is a purpose in life that differs for everyone, and there's a purpose of life that is the same for everyone. So the purpose in life, I might be a medical doctor, you might be a lawyer, you might be a television, working in journalism and so on, but those are the purposes in life. They make us outwardly seem different. But the purpose of life for each one of us is to discover the sweet nature of the inner divinity that exists within us. Every one of us has got that, and our purpose through this many lifetimes is to discover it. Shanti, Shanti, Deva, Shanti, Sama, Shanti.